Hey kids, here is a lesson on division properties of exponents. Remember that this lesson is not meant to be a replacement for a normal lesson. It's just meant to help students who may be absent or need a little refresher, some homework help. These are just the highlights. This isn't meant to be a perfect or the best lesson. It's just meant to be a good help for kids who need it. So we are learning how to use division properties when we are working with exponents to evaluate powers and to simplify and to find equivalent expressions. So let's start with what we already know and go into the new information. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more because sometimes exponents are a little bit more difficult to see. So if I have 4 to the 5th divided by 4 to the 3rd power, I could find out what 4 to the 5th is, and I could find 4 cubed, and I could divide the two. But another way to say that would be 4 times 4, 4 times itself 5 times, over 4 times itself 3 times. And we know anything over itself is 1. 4 into 4 is 1. 4 goes into 4 one time. 1. And anything times 1 is itself. So all that to say, 4 to the 5th over 4 cubed is really the same as 4 times 4, or 16. Or you'll notice 4 times 4 is the same thing as 4 squared. All of these things have the same value. Now, how can I go from 4 to the 5th over 4 cubed to 4 squared without all of these intermediary steps? Well, if you look at 5 and 3, if you subtract 3 from 5, 5 minus 3, that gives us 2. And this relates to the first rule that I would like to teach you. Any number to the power of m over that same number to the power of n is the same as a to the m minus n. So this only works if you have the same base. So for us this worked because I had the same base of 4. And it's not subtracting the smaller exponent from the bigger one. It's the top minus then the bottom. Okay. Let's look at a different one. 4/5 cubed. Do the same thing as we did before. 4/5 times itself 3 times. Or we know we could do the same like this, which we know is the same as this. And we could solve that out and simplify. But the point I want to make is, how do we go from our original expression 4/5 cubed to 4 cubed over 5 cubed? Well, we use this rule, which I'll write here. A over b to the power of m is the same as a to the m over b to the m. In a previous lesson, we learned that anything outside of the parentheses as an exponent does go to all things within the parentheses. The same is true. It goes to everything within the parentheses, and that includes a fraction, and it goes to the numerator and the denominator. Okay, let's try some examples. So we're going to simplify each of these as far down as we can. So I have the same base of 6, and I'm going to subtract the top minus the bottom. Now when you do your homework, you don't have to write 6 to the 5 minus 4th. I'm just trying to show my work here. And 5 minus 4 is 1. 6 to the power of 1 is 6. And that's our most simplified solution. Here you'll notice I have -5 squared over -5 squared. Now -5 squared is 25 over 25. Anything into itself is just 1. Well, that makes sense because this is the same thing. So just 1. That's all there is to it. Now, when we have different operations combined, so this one has some multiplication and division, it's best practice to move across horizontally and then simplify vertically. So there are no parentheses here, same base, so I add the exponents. 4 and 2 make 6 over 9 to the 7th. And now I can simplify vertically. Same base, top exponent minus the bottom exponent, or 9 to the negative first power. I can write that with a positive exponent in the denominator of a fraction, or 1/9. And that's the final answer. Now when we have a fraction that's multiplied with a whole number, remember that this whole number is the same thing as a fraction over 1. So if I want to multiply across, I'm just going to multiply the numerator by this whole number over y to the 5th, same base of y, 3 minus 5 is -2, 1 over y squared. And that is your solution. Feel free, if you understand what you're doing, to pause this and accomplish as many of these as you can independently and then start this video up again. Or feel free to watch the whole thing without taking your own notes and then go back through your notes and see how you can do independently, however it works best for you. Okay, so that we learned in our rule here that the exponent on the outside of the parentheses goes to everything inside of the parentheses, and that includes the numerator and the denominator of a fraction. So this means 2 squared over 3 squared, or 4 over 9. And that can't be reduced any further, so that's the end. That's what it is. Similarly, we have -3 cubed. Now you can look at this a couple different ways. A negative cubed is still a negative. And then 3 cubed over y cubed. Negative. 3 cubed is 27. Y cubed. And there's nothing else we can do there, so that's our final answer. Getting far enough along in math where our answers are kind of looking like math problems. Okay, here is a rule that will really benefit you a lot moving forward. Now you could distribute, I say distribute, it's not distributive property, but it's reminiscent of it. You could put 7 to the negative third power and 4 to the negative third power and convert those to positive exponents using fractions, or the easiest thing for you would be to write the reciprocal, 4 over 7, and then change that negative exponent to a positive. And now we have 4 cubed over 7 cubed. Now those cubes don't just cancel out, because this isn't just a cube and a cube. This is a power 4 and a power 7, and those are obviously different. And 4 cubed is 64, and 7 cubed is 343. And you can put that into your calculator, try to simplify it, and see if it'll reduce down, and it doesn't. And that's the next one. Okay, I really strongly recommend that you attempt these next two at least before you watch the explanation, because I do think that this is great practice for students to combine all these rules together, force yourself to think, and then watch the solution. To the 4th, x to the 4th, y to the 8th, because it's parentheses, so we multiply. 4 times 2 is 8. 2 to the 4th is 16, x to the 4th, y to the 8th. and that's as far as we can go. That one is done. Okay, now these are the most fun. I hope you at least attempted this first. When you have a big problem like this, again, I recommend that you work horizontally first, and then once it's simplified, work vertically. If you simplify this way and then multiply, you may have to simplify again. So it will save you steps if you solve horizontally and then simplify vertically. 3 times 6 is 18. 2 times 4 is 8. So I did the coefficients first, the big numbers. And now the x. I'll put that in the numerator first. This x seemingly does not have an exponent, but if it did have an exponent, it would be 1. No parentheses, so I can add the exponents. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. Y, no parentheses. 4 and 2 make 6. X to the 5th. Y, 1 and 1 make 2. And so 18 over 8 can be simplified. Going to keep it improper. And so we have x's. Negative 2 minus 5 is negative 7. Then the y's. 6 minus 2 is 4. Now, you may have learned the shortcut in the previous lesson that if you have a negative exponent, say if it's the numerator, you just put in the denominator with a positive exponent. Or if it was in the denominator, you would then flip it up to the numerator using a positive exponent. And so, you'll see this is the same as 9y to the 4th over 4x to the 7th. This bit here is not okay because that's a negative exponent, and so it flips down here. And that's your final solution. And so we have an opportunity for practice here on 8.3, practice 8. I don't want to rob you of an opportunity of learning, so I'm gonna actually flip this over, do a couple samples with you so that you can get going. I have simplified some of the directions, which is confusing because I simplified directions that say simplify. Basically, just simplify as far down as you can. So in this case, I have same base of 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. And 4 squared is 16. Okay. Let's try another one. Same base. 6 minus 0 is 6. And there's nothing else that I can do there. 1/3 to the 4th, remember that means the same thing as 1 to the 4th over 3 to the 4th. 1 to any power will be 1. 3 to the 4th would be 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 51 maybe, I think, I hope. Is that right? $81. There you go. I didn't trust myself. Now remember, if you have a fraction to a negative exponent, just flip it over. So this becomes 5/7 squared, or 5 squared over 7 squared, or, I should have done this in scratch paper, 25 over 49. Yeesh. And that would be your solution for that. Okay. 17 through 24 is just more of the same. Yep, on the A side, it's numbered the same. Okay. And then we have some more complicated ones at the bottom. They look tough, but you can do this. Let's look at one like 29. Where does this exponent go, right? Well, you can distribute if you want to, but look, these are the same base, t to the negative fourth. So really, I can keep that t to the negative fourth and do 9 minus 3, which is 6. Negative 4 times 6 is negative 24, which is the same as 1 over t to the 24th. Really, this section is forcing you to apply all the rules together. Now remember, again, if you have a negative exponent, just flip everything over. So this becomes 5x to the 5th y squared over 3x to the 7th y to the 9th. Everything, all of this went here. All of this went here. And now instead of a negative 4, it's positive 4. So the numerator is in the denominator is in the numerator, and the exponent is positive. And now I can 5 to the 4th, x to the 20th, y to the 8th, over 3 to the 4th, x to the 28th, y to the 36th. Okay. 5 to the 4th is 5 times 5 is 25 times 5 is 125 times 5, I don't know this, but it's late. 6, of course I knew that. 625 over 3 to the 4th, we said it was 81. Okay, now we have our x. Same base, 20 minus 8 is negative 8. So I can write either x to the negative 8 in the numerator, or I can say x to the positive 8 in the denominator. And then y. 8 minus 36 is negative 28. And then simplify. Please use a calculator to simplify 625 over 81. I don't think it can be simplified. I don't have a calculator on me to check it. Keep that there. So x to the 8th, y to the 28th, and there is your solution. Looks big. That's the answer. So this is the sort of thing that you are going to do on the front side, and you'll do great. Okay, if you have any troubles, any questions that I did not answer, please do not hesitate to send me an email. Here. Happy to help. All right, thanks a lot. Have a good night.